I was wearing my brother's dog tags when I walked into the Kaveli estate, not because I wanted to remember him, but because I wanted Connor to see them when I slit his throat. The tags were tucked under my collar, cold against my skin. I'd read somewhere that adrenaline heightened sensation. That's how I knew I was already drowning in it. Every breath was too sharp, every step too quiet. And still, I walked in like I belonged. Head high, heart armored, smile fake. That's how you survive lions. You look them in the eye and you smile like you're not bleeding. Name? The doorman asked. I kept my voice calm. Julie Thomas. His eyes narrowed. Maybe the name meant something. Maybe it didn't. I didn't care. Because I wasn't here to be remembered. I was here to end something. The estate was less of a house and more of a cathedral for ego. Black stone, gilded trim, tall, arched windows that didn't let light in so much as dare it to try. The party was a masquerade. Of course it was. Masks everywhere. The beautiful and the bored sipping wine while dressed like fallen angels. Everyone pretending they didn't know they were dancing inside a crime family's fortress. I'd been in the room 5 minutes when I saw him. Connor Kaveli, not just heir to the Kaveli throne, but the next king of sin in this city. Tall, suited in all black, mask like a crown, a face carved from winter, cold mouth, sharp jaw, dark hair slicked back with precision, like everything he did was calculated down to the breath. He looked nothing like his brother. And somehow that made it worse. Because I didn't want to hesitate. I didn't want to notice how still he stood, how watchful, how every conversation in the room bent around him, like even words obeyed him. I especially didn't want to notice how fast my heart started beating when his eyes found mine. I turned away too late. He was already walking toward me. Julie, he said. No question mark. I didn't smile. Should I be impressed that you know my name? No. His voice was smooth, cool, danger hidden in velvet. You should be afraid. I should have been. But I wasn't. I was furious. You didn't kill my brother, I said softly. Your brother did. So why am I here, Connor? His smile was a ghost. Because you didn't come here for him. You came here for me. That made me flinch, just enough for him to see. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, dark spice, leather, and danger. And because I let you in. He led me away from the party like I'd agreed to follow. I didn't. But I did. Through dark corridors lit by flickering wall sconces. Up a staircase I hadn't noticed. Through a carved double door into a room that didn't match the rest of the house. No blood, no bone, just books. Floor-to-ceiling shelves lined the walls. A fireplace glowed low in the corner. There was a single chair, and behind it a dagger mounted under glass. I stopped. My stomach turned. Connor watched me like he knew. That was his, he said. The brother you hate. I turned to him, fists clenched. You keep it like a trophy? No, he said simply. Like a warning. To who? I snapped. His answer was a slow, cruel smile. To myself. I should have left. I should have screamed. I should have pulled the blade from under my dress and ended it there. But I stood still. Because Connor Kaveli didn't sound like a man boasting. He sounded like a man haunted. You know what happens if you touch me, right? I whispered. He moved closer. I ruin people, I said more desperately. You think I'm some fragile thing you can control, but I came here to destroy you. He leaned in until his breath touched my cheek. Then do it, he murmured. My hand moved on instinct, blade out, raised, poised to pierce. But he didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't beg. He only said, your hand's shaking. I hated him for noticing. I hated me for letting him. I'm not like him, Connor said. He stepped back and sat in the chair like a king watching someone on trial. I don't kill unless there's no other option, he said. But you walked into my house with a weapon. I could end this, right now. I swallowed hard. Then why don't you? He tilted his head. Because you're more useful alive. That should have scared me. It did, but not enough. Because even now, even knowing the hell I'd stepped into, part of me still wanted to hear why. Let me guess, I said, voice dry. You want to keep me in your pretty cage? Feed me lies? Break me until I forget why I hate you. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. No, he said. I want you to remember. My breath caught. He stood, came closer again. So close I could feel the heat from his body. You're not a guest here, he murmured. You're a consequence. Then he reached out and tucked the dog tags from my collar, dragging them into the light. I gasped. His touch was light, reverent, terrifying. He held them up like a priest holding a relic. Then he whispered, He was brave. I closed my eyes, the tears didn't fall, but the hate cracked, and when I opened them again, Connor Kaveli was already walking away, and the doors locked behind him. They didn't call it a prison. Of course they didn't. Prisons don't have silk sheets and marble bathtubs the size of small countries. They don't serve you breakfast on a tray with linen napkins and imported honey. They don't leave fresh clothes in your size like they already knew your measurements. But I wasn't stupid. You can dress a cage in diamonds, and it's still a cage. And I was trapped inside Connor Kaveli's. I didn't try the windows at first. I tried the door. Locked. Then the phone. No signal. Then the intercom. A woman's voice answered. Calm, professional. Too calm. Miss Thomas, if you need anything, just press 2. Meals arrive at 8, 1, and 6. And no, you may not leave the room without permission. Permission. The word landed like a bruise. I pressed the button again. Then tell Connor Kaveli to get his damn permission in here. There was a pause. Then the woman said, I'm afraid Mr. Kaveli doesn't respond to tantrums. I nearly threw the phone across the room. Day 1 felt like a test. I didn't eat the food, didn't touch the clothes, didn't use the tub. I paced, memorized the room, counted footsteps from the bed to the door, practiced killing him in my head at least 26 different ways. But the second night, I broke, because I woke up crying. I don't cry, not since my brother's body was zipped up and carted away like trash. But that night, something cracked. And when I crawled into the bath, I didn't care how expensive it was. I didn't care that it felt like giving in. I just wanted to feel something warm. The windows didn't open, but they weren't sealed. So I listened. Birds in the morning, crickets at night, a car engine once, deep, expensive. And once, voices, his low, measured, sharp, and mine, in my head, repeating every word he'd said the night before like a curse I couldn't lift. You're not a guest here, you're a consequence. What the hell did that even mean? And why did it still send heat down my spine? On day 3 he came, back. No knock, no warning, just the sound of the lock disengaging, and then him stepping into my cage like he owned it. He did. I hated that I noticed the way his sleeves were rolled to his elbows, the ink on his forearm, the slight rasp in his voice when he said my name. You survived, he said. I didn't rise to it. Disappointed? He closed the door behind him, slow and deliberate. Depends. On what? On whether you're ready to talk like a person? Or if you're going to keep pretending this is a war. I stood. Your brother murdered mine, I said. So yeah, Connor. It is a war. His jaw flexed, and for a second I saw it. The cold mask cracked, the grief behind the monster. Then it was gone. I didn't come to fight, he said. I came to explain, I laughed. Bitter and ugly. Explain, I repeated. What exactly are you going to explain, huh? That he bled out in a warehouse like garbage while your family went home and poured champagne. Connor stepped closer, and I didn't back down, but my knees felt weak. I wasn't there, he said, and if I had been, he wouldn't have died. I blinked. You expect me to believe that? No, he said quietly, but you will. He walked to the bookshelves, fingers grazing the spines like they were familiar friends. Then he pulled something out, a photo. He handed it to me. I looked, and I nearly dropped it. Me, smiling, with my brother, 2 years ago, a beach in Florida. One of the last good days we had before everything turned red. My hands shook. Where did you get this? He didn't answer, because the answer was obvious. He'd been watching me, longer than I realized. You've had people following me? I asked. Connor tilted his head. I am the people. God, it wasn't just arrogance, it was truth. I stepped back. Why? His eyes didn't leave mine because I needed to know if you were like him. Like who? My brother. That stopped me cold. He stepped in again, close enough for his scent to reach me. I didn't lock you up to punish you, he said. I locked you up to protect you. From what? His voice dropped. From me. I should have laughed, should have screamed, should have hit him. But instead I asked quietly, then why not let me go? His jaw tensed, because I don't trust myself to find you again. I felt something twist in my chest, sharp, hot, terrifying, because part of me didn't want to be found. Part of me wanted him to come looking. And that part scared me more than anything. He moved closer again, and this time I didn't step back. His hand lifted, not to touch me, just to hover, open, an invitation. You're not a prisoner, he said. Not unless you want to be. And in that moment, I hated him for the lie. Because no matter how beautiful the cage, no matter how gentle the hands, the second he saw me, I was already his. I woke up to the sound of piano, soft, precise, almost haunting. It took me a moment to remember where I was. Not my apartment, not my bed, not my life. Connor Kaveli's house, Connor Kaveli's bed, Connor Kaveli's war. Except I hadn't seen him since the photo. 2 days, no visits, no voice on the intercom, just silence, which should have felt like mercy. But it didn't. It felt like strategy, like he was letting me marinate in my own confusion until I wasn't sure who the enemy was anymore. And maybe it was working, because when I heard the music, I followed it. The hallway outside my room was empty. The guard at the stairwell didn't stop me. He looked at me the way you look at a rain cloud you've been told not to bother, like I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't sure I was. The music was coming from downstairs, a side room. I crept toward it like a thief, but I wasn't stealing. I was searching. And when I reached the door and peeked in, I froze. Because it wasn't a recording, it was him. Connor Kaveli, at the piano, no suit today, just a black t-shirt and slacks, barefoot, a scar down the side of his ankle like he'd once fought his way out of something and won. His fingers moved like he wasn't thinking, like the music was part of him. Fluid, flawless. And his eyes closed. He didn't see me, but I saw him, and for the first time since I met him, he looked human. Not powerful, not dangerous, not untouchable, just haunted. And God help me, I wanted to know what haunted him. I stepped inside. The last note fell like a sigh. He didn't move. Is that what you do when you're not kidnapping women? I said softly. His fingers stilled. I don't kidnap, he said without turning. I relocate. I snorted. Right. And I'm the guest of honor. He opened his eyes then, and I swear, for half a second, they looked like his brothers. Same shape, same cold gray, but not the same soul. I knew it like I knew my own name. Still, it hit me like a punch. Say it, he said. I blinked. Say what? That I look like him. I didn't answer, but I didn't have to. He stood slowly. It's always the eyes, he said. Women loved him for them. Men feared him for them. I took a step back. He followed. But you, he said, voice low, you see something else. I lifted my chin. I see a liar. That made him pause, then smile. Not charming, not amused, just resigned. I haven't lied to you once, he said. I folded my arms. You hid the photo. You knew who I was. You let me think this was my plan. It was your plan, he cut in. I just let it happen. He was closer now. Too close. And I hated how much I felt him. Every word, every breath, every second. He reached out, touched the chain around my neck. His fingers brushed the tags. You keep these close. They're all I have left of him, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. And if I told you, he leaned in, breath warm against my cheek, that your brother's death wasn't what you think? I froze. What do you mean? He didn't answer. He just looked at me, long, hard, like he was deciding something. Then he turned away and said, wait, before I keep going. If you are listening for the first time, buckle in. This is not a calm love story. Now, back to the moment I made the worst decision of my life. There are things you don't know, he said finally. I swallowed. Then tell me. Connor walked to the far wall, pulled a folder from a drawer, tossed it on the table between us. Your brother didn't die in a fight, he said. He died in a setup. My hands trembled as I opened the folder. Photos, reports, security footage stills, names I didn't recognize, dates that didn't line up. And at the bottom, a transcript. My brother's voice, a recording, a deal. One he wasn't supposed to make. My stomach turned. This is fake, I whispered. No, Julie, Connor said. It's the truth. I looked up, eyes burning. Why show me this now? He studied me. You wanted to destroy me, he said. Now I want to see what you'll do with the truth. I should have screamed. I should have ripped the folder in half and thrown it in his face. But instead, I said nothing. Because I didn't know what scared me more. The possibility that he was lying, or the possibility that he wasn't. He came closer again, looked at me like he was trying to see through me. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he said, or him. Then what are you asking? He hesitated, then said softly, to stay. Just long enough to learn what revenge really costs. I shook my head. You think you can talk me out of hate? No, he said. I think I can show you what happens when you let it win. I should have left. I should have run. But when he reached out and brushed a tear from my cheek I didn't know had fallen, I didn't pull away, and I hated myself for that more than anything. There's a lie people love to believe about grief, that it's clean, that it comes in stages, that if you're strong enough, patient enough, good enough, you'll survive it. But grief doesn't want survivors. It wants hostages. And mine had a gun to my heart the second I saw the photo in Connor's folder. I didn't speak to him for 2 days after that. Not because I was punishing him, but because if I opened my mouth, I didn't know what would come out. A scream, a sob, or something even more dangerous, the truth. Because a part of me, the part that still shook when I touched my brother's dog tags, wanted to believe Connor. And that part was the one I hated the most. On the third night, I found him in the garden. The air smelled like jasmine and rain-soaked stone. The hedges were too perfect, like even nature wasn't allowed to grow wild here. Connor was sitting on a bench, sleeves rolled, tie loose. A glass of something dark in his hand. He looked up when I approached, but didn't speak. I sat beside him. The silence between us stretched like wire. Finally, I asked, "Was it your idea to follow me before I came here?" "No," he said. "It was his." I turned to him slowly. "Your brother?" He nodded once. "Why?" I asked. His jaw tightened. Because he knew what was coming. Connor didn't drink from the glass. He just held it, like the weight gave him an excuse not to reach for me. "Julian wasn't supposed to be at that meeting," he said. I froze. "He wasn't a target," Connor continued. "He wasn't even known to us. But your brother showed up armed, panicked, tried to pull a fast one." "No," I said softly, but he kept going. "He was trying to protect someone," Connor said. "The transcript you saw, it wasn't his voice alone. There was another man in the deal. Your brother stepped in when it went sideways." I stared at him. "You're saying he died a hero?" Connor's voice lowered. "I'm saying he died because he didn't trust us." I stood. The garden felt too quiet, like the trees were holding their breath. "You talk like you weren't part of it," I snapped. "But it was your family, your world, your rules." "Yes," he said, standing now too, "but not my order." My hands clenched. "Don't pretend your hands are clean." "They're not," he said, "but neither are yours." That stopped me cold. What the hell does that mean? He stepped forward. Close. Too close. "You came here with a blade," he said. "You wanted my blood. You wanted me dead for something I didn't do." "I came for justice," I spat. "No," he said darkly. "You came for satisfaction." I slapped him. Hard. My hands stung. My breath came fast. He didn't flinch. Didn't even raise his voice. He just said, "Feel better?" "No," I hissed. And I didn't, because he didn't hit back, because he didn't even look angry, because I wanted him to be the monster I could hate, but he was making that impossible. I turned away. I should never have come here. "Then why haven't you left?" I didn't answer. "Because I didn't know. I was 12 when he killed a man in front of me." Connor's voice was low, steady, like a confession he didn't realize he was making. "My brother," he said. "Your brother's killer." He looked me in the eye after, said I'd thank him one day. I turned back slowly. Connor's eyes weren't cold now. They were tired, wounded, human. "I never did," he added. He set the glass down on the bench, then looked at me. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," he said. "I'm asking you to see me." "I do," I whispered. "That's the problem." He stepped closer, and for a sec helped me. I wanted him to touch me. I wanted it to feel something that wasn't loss. "Say it," he said quietly. "Say what you're thinking." "I'm thinking," I swallowed. "If I let go of hate, I lose him too. My brother, my purpose, my anchor." Connor didn't smile. He just nodded. "Yeah," he said. "That's the cost." We stood there for a long time. Me with salt on my lips and fire in my veins. Him with all the power and none of the safety. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a prisoner. I felt like a storm waiting to choose a direction. Later, when I was back in my room, I sat on the edge of the bed and took off the dog tags. I held them in my palm like they were a heartbeat. And I whispered, "I don't know if I'm doing this for you anymore." Then I cried, silently, alone, because grief doesn't let go easy, and neither does love, especially when it's the wrong kind. It happened the night I tried to disappear. I wasn't planning to run. Not yet. Not physically. But I needed space. I needed to feel like I still had choices, that I wasn't just a ghost in Connor Kaveli's story. So I left my room after dark. No guards, no cameras I could see, just me and the silence pressing against my skin like a warning. I wandered through stone hallways and velvet-shadowed rooms until I found a door that led to the west wing. His wing. I should have gone back. But I didn't. The hallway was colder here. Not temperature. Atmosphere. The walls were darker. The paintings violent. A mix of saints and sinners, their eyes all turned away, like even they couldn't watch what happened in this part of the house. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I heard the door open behind me. I turned too fast. Connor stood there. No suit, no mask, just darkness wrapped in skin. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, voice low. I swallowed. "Neither are you." He stepped inside, closed the door, locked it. Of course he locked it. My fingers curled at my sides. "Is this the part where you remind me who's in charge?" "No," he said, walking toward me slowly. "This is the part where I stop pretending I'm not watching you fall apart." I froze. "Don't," I whispered. "Don't what?" "Don't make this about you. It is about me," he said, "because you made it that way the second you stepped into my world and looked me in the eye like you wanted to burn it down." I hated how close he was now, hated how much I noticed the way his chest rose and fell, the way his mouth tightened when he was trying not to feel. I said, "I came here to make you bleed." "I know," he said. "So why haven't you stopped me?" His voice dropped into something dangerous. "Because part of me wants you to." The silence between us cracked like glass under pressure. He stepped closer. I didn't move. Not when his hand brushed the side of my face. Not when his thumb skimmed the edge of my mouth like he was, memorizing it. Not even when he said, "You have no idea what you do to me." I should have run. Instead I whispered, "Then show me." And God help us both. He did. The kiss wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't anything kisses are supposed to be. It was violent, hot and cold at once. A claim, a challenge, a threat wrapped in the shape of his mouth on mine. I gasped into it, and he used the sound like a weapon, gripping my waist, pulling me against him like I'd already said yes. I hadn't, but my body had. He kissed like he was trying to erase every memory of pain I'd ever carried. Like he was rewriting my story in fire and breath and pressure. Like he needed me to believe this was something I'd asked for. Maybe I had, maybe not with words. But the moment I leaned in instead of pulling away, I sealed something I couldn't take back. He broke the kiss first. But he didn't let go. His forehead pressed to mine, his breath rough, his voice ruined. "You want to run?" he said. "Yes." "Then run." I shook my head. "No?" "No," I breathed. "I want to hate you first." His smile was a shattered thing. "Good," he said, "because I already hate myself." I don't know how long we stood like that, two broken creatures dressed as enemies, hearts screaming the same song in a language neither of us wanted to understand. But eventually he let go. And when he stepped back, I felt it. The emptiness, the loss, the mistake. Because that kiss, it didn't fix anything. It only made it worse. "Go back to your room, Julie," he said. "And if I don't?" He met my eyes. "Then I won't be the one who walks away next time." I turned before I could answer, because I believed him. Back in my bed, I lay awake for hours. The kiss still burned on my lips. My heart still beat like it hadn't chosen a side, and somewhere deep in the part of me I kept buried. I realized something terrifying. Revenge didn't feel like revenge anymore. Not when the man I came to destroy kissed me like I already belonged to him. The next morning, there were clothes on the bed. Black silk blouse, slim skirt, barely there heels. The kind of outfit a woman wears when she wants to look powerful but feels small. There was a note tucked beneath the collar. "Come downstairs, we need to talk." See. No threats. No orders, just that signature stillness wrapped in ink. It was somehow worse than if he'd barked a command, because now I wanted to say no, and I hated that part of me didn't. The dining room was empty when I arrived, except for him. Connor stood at the head of the long black table like a carved statue. Perfect. Still. Cold. He didn't look up as I entered, just gestured to the chair beside him. "I'm not hungry," I said. "You don't need to eat," he replied. "Just listen." I sat. I shouldn't have. But I did. He slid a folder across the table. Another one. "Your brother's last transaction," he said. "The clean version." I opened it. Bank transfers, fake names. A wire from an offshore account traced back to... I froze. "Is this real?" He nodded. "Your brother wasn't just trying to protect someone. He was trying to pay them off." "No," I shook my head. "He wouldn't." "He did." Connor leaned back, eyes locked on mine. "He was covering for someone in your family, Julie. He took the fall and the bullet." The room spun. I pushed the folder away. "You think this makes it better?" I snapped. "You think showing me how complicated it all is will somehow make me forget who killed him?" "No," he said. "I think it'll make you stop blaming the wrong person." I stood. He didn't stop me. "I'm done being your little redemption project," I said. You were never that. Then what am I, Connor? Your prisoner? Your obsession? He stood now too. Walked around the table, slow, measured. And when he stopped in front of me, his voice dropped to something dangerous. You are the first person who ever looked me in the eye and told me they wanted to see me bleed. My breath hitched. And you didn't flinch when I stepped closer, he added. Not once, not even when I gave you every reason to. His hand hovered near mine, not touching, just close. And it was that restraint that undid me, not the violence, not the power, the patience. Because if he'd grabbed me, I could have screamed. If he'd forced anything, I would have fought. But this was surrender disguised as control, and I was tired of pretending I didn't want it. I don't trust you, I whispered. Good, he said. Trust is for liars. I still hate you. Then hate me from closer. I broke. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just leaned in. Let his hand find my waist. Let his chest take my weight. Let his arms wrap around me like armor I didn't deserve. And for the first time in too long, I let someone hold me. Hold on before I tell you what happened next. Promise me you're not quitting halfway. Because I didn't get to quit. Now, back to this mess I created. His arms were warm, unfairly so. I should have been focused on escape, on revenge, on whatever twisted plan I was supposed to still be carrying out. But all I could think about was how steady his breathing was, and how mine matched it. Eventually, I stepped back. He didn't stop me, but his hands lingered at my waist like they weren't ready to let go. Don't mistake this for forgiveness, I said. I don't want forgiveness, he replied. I want truth. I looked at him, long, hard. You said you didn't kill my brother. I said that it wasn't your order, but you still profited from it. You still sat on the throne it bought. He didn't deny it. I never pretended I was clean, he said, only that I didn't lie. The room was too quiet, his voice too low, but the truth in it scraped like broken glass against my ribs. You hate who I am, he said, but you're still standing here. Maybe I like the idea of being the one who ruins you. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Too late. I walked away first. He let me go, but as I reached the door, I looked back, and what I saw wasn't a monster. It was a man, lonely, brilliant, dangerous, a devil lie, but who knew exactly how to twist the truth until it sounded like mercy. I didn't know if it was real. The warmth, the quiet, the absence of violence between us. It felt too careful to be peace, too dangerous to be a game, too heavy to be a lie. But still I let it happen. Because sometimes when you live in a war zone long enough, silence sounds like seduction. The next morning I found a book outside my door. No note. Just a title I recognized. Something I told him once in passing. I used to love. He remembered. I stared at the cover for a long time before I picked it up. Then I brought it inside and didn't open it. Because the gesture felt like a confession neither of us were ready to say out loud. By day 4, we had a rhythm. I stopped locking my door. He stopped hiding behind distance. We didn't talk about the kiss. We didn't talk about the war. We didn't talk about my brother. We just existed. Until one night I found him in the study. No guards. No agenda. No folder full of reasons for me to stop hating him. Just a bottle of whiskey, a fire, and the piano he never seemed to admit he played. He didn't look up when I stepped in, just said, "You always move like a spy." "And you always sound like a confession," I replied. That made him smile. Soft, real, dangerous. I sat on the edge of the leather sofa, legs tucked under me. He poured a second glass and handed it to me. "No poison?" I asked. "If I wanted you dead," he said, "I wouldn't waste a drink." Comforting. We talked. About nothing. Which was somehow everything. Books, music, the sound rain makes when it hits the sea instead of the ground. I didn't ask him about his empire. He didn't ask me about my grief. It was a silent agreement between two people pretending not to want the same thing. Freedom. But not from each other. "You look different when you're not trying to kill me," he said eventually. "And you sound different when you're not ruining lives." He tilted his head. "I ruin systems," he said, "not people." "You really believe that?" His voice dropped. "I want to." I stood and walked to the piano, ran my fingers over the keys, but didn't press them. "You know what my brother said the day he left for that meeting?" Connor didn't answer. He said, "Don't wait up. I'll be back before you miss me." Silence. I turned and found him already watching me. "He never came home," I whispered. Connor set his glass down, then walked toward me. "I can't give him back to you," he said quietly, "but I can give you something else." What? I asked. He didn't speak. He just touched my cheek, soft, like I might shatter, and then he said it, low, rough, certain. Bellissima. I froze. The word curled through me like heat. What does that mean? I asked. His hand drifted to the side of my neck, fingertips barely grazing the skin there. It means beautiful, he said, but not just outside, it's deeper. Don't say that, I whispered. You don't mean it. I do. Then stop. I won't. I should have run again, should have pulled away, but I didn't. Because when he said it, it didn't sound like a line. It sounded like a truth. One I hadn't heard in a long, long time. You're not like I expected, I said. Connor's mouth twisted into something unreadable. You expected a monster? Yes. You found a man? No, I said. I found both. And he didn't argue, because he knew I was right. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared, because I wasn't. Not anymore. And that terrified me more than anything else. There was a way out. I found it by accident. A side gate hidden behind the garden wall. Iron latch. No camera, no alarm I could see. The kind of door that only exists for secrets or for people who aren't supposed to stay. I stood there for a long time, hand on the latch. It would have been easy. Run, disappear, start over with a new name and a bleeding heart. But my feet didn't move. Because behind me was the devil who kissed like a man praying I'd never forgive him. And in front of me, nothing. I made it back to my room without deciding. Or maybe standing still was the decision. I lay awake until midnight, staring at the ceiling. Every breath felt like a betrayal. Every thought sounded like his voice. And when the knock came, soft, unmistakable, I didn't pretend to sleep. I opened the door and found him there. Connor. No guards, no mask, no distance. Just a man standing in front of a woman he'd broken in ways neither of them knew how to name. He didn't speak, just looked at me, like I was both his punishment and his salvation. And then he reached for me. Not rough, not rushed. He touched my jaw first, then my cheek, then the place just behind my ear where only someone who wanted to know you would ever think to go. Don't do this, I whispered. Then say no, he said, voice frayed. I didn't. I couldn't. Because everything in me was already screaming yes. Mid-story break, Chapter 8. Deep stakes warning before I tell you what he did next. This is your warning. After this, nothing stays innocent. Now let's get back to the moment it broke. He kissed me like I was the answer to a question he never dared to ask. Not possessive this time. Not cruel. Just real, like I was the thing he'd tried to hate and failed. I gripped the front of his shirt, pulled him in, and this time it wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about hate. It wasn't about anything but the way his hands trembled when he touched my skin, like he'd never been gentle before. He lifted me like I weighed nothing, laid me down like I was everything, and when his mouth found my collarbone, then my shoulder, then the edge of my ribs, I forgot every plan I ever made. There was only this. Only him. His voice was rough against my neck. Tell me you want this. I said nothing, but I arched into him like the answer was written on my skin. And maybe it was. We moved like sinners with no intention of repenting. There was no armor left. No distance, no weapons, only hands, breath, heat, and the sound I made when he said, mine, like the word itself could burn the past away. He held my face when I broke, kissed the tears that escaped even though I swore I'd buried them, told me he hated himself for needing me this way, and I told him, don't. Because right now, in this moment, he wasn't the man who ruined me. He was the one holding me together. We didn't speak after. We didn't need to. He stayed beside me, bare-chested, arm wrapped around my waist like a vow. His hand traced slow, mindless patterns along my hip. I laid my head on his shoulder, listened to the quiet rhythm of a heart that had no right to belong to me, and somewhere between the warmth and the ache, I slept. His room was too quiet when I woke up, the kind of quiet that feels deliberate, empty, intentional. Like someone left while you were still dreaming. Connor was gone. But the memory of him wasn't. His scent still clung to the sheets, dark spice and smoke and something I could never name but already missed. I sat up slowly. The ache between my thighs wasn't pain. It was proof of a choice I made with more than my body, and a consequence I wasn't ready to name. The shirt I found was his, black, oversized, warm from the heat he left behind. I put it on, then wandered into the room beyond the bed. His study, I assumed. Books, decanters, heavy curtains, and a desk. Of course there was a desk. I didn't mean to open it. Not at first, but one drawer wasn't fully closed, a sliver of a folder peeking out like it wanted to be found. And I told myself I was only straightening it. But when my fingers touched the leather handle, I pulled. And what I saw inside shattered me. It was there. The knife. Not a knife. Black hilt, silver edge, red stained at the base like blood could survive the lie. I knew it the second I saw it. I'd seen it once before, in a crime scene photo no one thought I'd find. It was the blade that killed Julian. My brother. My blood. My reason. My hands were trembling as I reached for it. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I just stared, like it would rise from the velvet and explain itself. Like it would whisper, "You were right to come, right to stay, right to want him dead." But it didn't say anything, because it didn't have to. The second I saw what was under it, everything else stopped mattering. A photo of me, smiling, not old, recent, standing outside my apartment building, a candid, zoomed in, dated 2 weeks before I ever came to him. I couldn't breathe. The air turned to ash in my lungs. He'd known. Not just about Julian, not just about my plan. He'd known me. Watched me, followed me, before I ever set foot in his house, before the kiss, before the lies. Before the night he whispered mine into my neck and made me believe it meant something. He didn't choose me because I was dangerous. He chose me because I was already his. I slammed the drawer shut and stumbled back. My reflection in the glass cabinet looked like a stranger. Hair a mess, his shirt draped over me like a brand, eyes wide with something between horror and heartbreak. And the worst part? I still didn't know if I wanted to scream or cry. The door creaked behind me. I turned fast. It wasn't Connor, just a housekeeper. Silent, watchful. "Mr. Kaveli will return by dinner," she said. I nodded, numb, then lied through my teeth. "Tell him I'm resting." She nodded, closed the door, locked it from the outside. He still didn't trust me. He never did. And now, neither did I. I ripped the shirt off, tossed it across the room like it burned. Because it did. Everything did. The air, the walls, the memory of his breath on my skin. It was all poison now. And I drank every drop like a fool. By the time night fell, I was dressed, not in the silk he'd picked, in black jeans, combat boots, a leather jacket I found in the closet from another life he probably didn't talk about, and in my pocket, a blade, not the one in the desk. Mine. Small, sharp, familiar. It used to be about vengeance. Now it was about clarity. Because when Connor walked back into this room, one of us was going to bleed. He didn't knock, didn't speak, just walked in like nothing had changed. Like I hadn't found the knife. Like I hadn't seen the photo. Like I wasn't already halfway to hate again. Connor closed the door behind him. Slow, measured, calm, always calm. And I realized that's what I hated most about him. Not the lies, not the violence, not even the obsession, the stillness. Like nothing could ever touch him. Not even me. "You went through my desk," he said, voice low. "You followed me before I ever came here," I snapped. "Don't pretend to be the injured one." He didn't flinch, just exhaled through his nose like he'd expected this. "I had to know who you were," he said. "You knew who I was." "No," he said. "I knew what you'd lost. I didn't know if you'd survive it." I stared at him. Is that what this was, a test? He didn't answer, which told me everything. I walked past him, chest tight. "Don't follow me." I wasn't planning to. That hurt more than I expected because it meant he was done fighting, done chasing, done pretending this was anything more than a game he designed and I lost. The chapel was quiet when I entered. Gold candles, mahogany pews, a single stained glass window that didn't fit the rest of the house. Too soft, too human, too hopeful. It felt like a place built by a version of him no one ever met, which made it the perfect place to destroy. I found the matchbook on a small table by the altar. Lavender-scented, expensive. I struck one, held it, watched the flame dance like it didn't know what it was about to become. Then I dropped it on the silk runner at the base of the aisle and watched it burn. The smoke rose slow, silent at first, like grief. Then the fire caught, fast, violent, hungry, like rage. It spread to the tapestries, the altar cloth, the edges of the pews, and still I stood there, not running, not crying, just watching, because if I couldn't burn the man, I'd burn the only thing he kept sacred. The doors flew open behind me. I didn't turn. I didn't have to. Connor's voice cracked through the smoke. "Julie, stay back." Flames licked the walls now, the heat wrapped around us like a punishment. I turned to face him, and the look in his eyes, it wasn't anger, it wasn't fear, it was grief. "This was hers," he said quietly. I blinked. Who? My mother. He stepped through the smoke like it meant nothing. She died here, in this chapel, holding a rosary I gave her when I was 9. I swallowed hard. You kept this as a shrine. He shook his head. I kept it to remind myself that love doesn't save anyone. The flames crawled toward us. He didn't move. Neither did I. You should go, I said. No. Connor, I'm not leaving you here. I don't want you to save me. I'm not trying to, he said. I'm trying to burn with you. The ceiling groaned. Wood cracked, and suddenly his arms were around me, lifting me, dragging me back through the smoke, through the side exit he probably built himself. We didn't stop until we were outside, breathless, ruined, shaking, and then I shoved him. Hard. Why didn't you stop me? I screamed. Because I deserved it. No, I spat. You don't get to be noble now. You planned this. Every step, every lie. He stepped closer, voice frayed. I planned how to keep you alive. I never planned what it would feel like to want you. I broke, shoved him again, beat my fists against his chest until they went limp. Then I whispered, You let me fall for you. I fell first, he said. My breath caught. Liar! He cupped my face with shaking hands. I watched you walk into my house with fire in your eyes, he said, and I've been burning ever since. The sirens were distant, the chapel still burned, but between us in the dark there was only silence and something that felt a lot like surrender. He didn't speak when the fire died. Not during the sirens, not when his men shouted, not when the chapel collapsed into ash and memory. Connor just stood there, jacket half burned, smoke in his hair, blood on his knuckles, and watched his last sacred thing fall apart. And I stayed beside him, because I wasn't sure if I just destroyed him, or finally made us equal. We didn't go back to the house. Not that night. He drove us to a quiet place near the edge of the city. Some kind of glass penthouse that felt too clean for people like us. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows while he poured 2 glasses of something dark and expensive. Neither of us drank. I think we were afraid of what would come out if we let anything else in. You shouldn't have saved me, I said softly. Connor didn't look at me. You shouldn't have set the fire. Fair. Silence. Then, so quietly I almost missed it. I would have stayed. I turned. What? In the chapel. Caught, he said. If you hadn't run, I would have burned with you. My breath caught. You don't mean that. I do, he said, because it would have been easier than this. This? He finally looked at me, and there it was. The truth. You think I planned all this, he said, but I didn't plan you. I crossed my arms. You had photos of me. Yes, he said, because I needed to know if you were coming to kill me, and if I wanted you to. That stopped me cold. He walked toward me slowly. When you showed up, I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. Not in a war, not with a crown, but with a girl who looks like the kind of mistake I've always deserved. I blinked fast, furious at the tears. You're not the only one who lost someone, he said. Julian killed a woman I loved once. You weren't the only one planning revenge. I shook my head. Then why didn't you take it? He stepped closer. Because she wasn't you. Before I tell you what happens next, we're almost at the end, and I need you to finish this with me. You need to understand what was going through my mind. Now, back to the moment that decided everything. I sat down on the edge of the bed like my knees couldn't hold me anymore. Connor stayed standing, like he couldn't. I need you to tell me what this is, I whispered. He moved toward me, dropped to his knees in front of me like it didn't kill his pride to do it. I don't know what it is, he said. I only know that I don't want to live in a world where you're not in it. My throat closed. And if I walk away? He nodded slowly. I won't stop you. But I won't recover. It wasn't a line. It wasn't manipulation. It was Connor Kaveli, begging, not with words, but with silence, with the way his hand shook when he reached for mine, with the way his voice broke when he said, I don't know how to love, but I know how to keep something once I have it, and I'm not ready to lose you. I cupped his face, felt the stubble, the heat, the tremble. You don't get to own me, I said. I don't want to, he said. I want to earn you. Then start here, I whispered. Tell me the truth. He looked me in the eye. I didn't kill your brother, but I've killed others. I've done things I'll never speak of. I've built an empire on blood, and if you stay, I already stayed. He went still, then said, Why? Because the world already took one man from me, I said. I'm not letting it take you too. We didn't kiss. We didn't touch. We just breathed. Together. Finally. Morning came quietly. No alarms, no shouting, no blood, just light, soft and pale, spilling through the glass like the world hadn't noticed what almost broke the night before. I woke with Connor's arm heavy around my waist, protective, not possessive, a difference I was only just learning how to feel. For one terrifying second, I thought I'd imagined everything, the fire, the begging, the choice. But then he shifted behind me, breath warm at the back of my neck, and I knew. This was real, so was what came next. I didn't turn to face him right away. I needed a moment to decide who I was going to be when I did, the woman who came here to destroy him, or the woman who stayed and survived him. "You're awake," he said quietly. "Yes." He didn't pull me closer, didn't tighten his hold. He waited, and that, more than anything else he'd done, told me he'd heard me. "I'm not staying like this," I said. "I know, I'm not disappearing into your world." "I wouldn't let you." That made me turn. "What?" His eyes were open, steady, certain. "I won't shrink you to fit my life," he said. "I'll widen it." I searched his face for the lie, didn't find one. We dressed in silence, not awkward, not cold, just honest. Downstairs, the house felt different. The chapel was gone, cordoned off, blackened, empty, and somehow the walls still stood. So did he. By noon the city knew. Rumors, whispers, fear dressed as curiosity. Connor Kaveli didn't lose power when the chapel burned. If anything, it hardened him. Men bowed their heads lower, voices dropped softer, and through it all, he never once told me to hide. "I'll be leaving tonight," I said eventually. He didn't react, just nodded. "Where?" he asked. "Somewhere that doesn't know my name yet." "Good," he said. "I'll send someone with you." That finally made him look at me. "I don't need a guard," I continued. "I need space." His jaw tightened. Then relaxed. "You'll come back," he said. Not a question. "Yes," I replied, "on my terms." He smiled then, slow, dangerous, proud. "That's my girl," he murmured, "always running, and always choosing when to stop." We stood by the door for a long time, not touching, just breathing. Finally, he said, "If you walk out that door, it won't be because I pushed you. I know. And when you come back, I won't ask for permission." "Good." He stepped closer then, just close enough to lower his voice. "When you come back, Bellissima, I'll still be here. Crown intact." I reached up and fixed his collar. "You better be." He kissed me goodbye like a promise, not desperate, not claiming, just certain. And I left. 3 months passed. The world didn't end. It shifted. I learned how to wake up without anger sitting in my chest, how to breathe without counting losses, how to remember my brother without bleeding. And when I came back, I didn't knock. Connor was waiting. Of course he was. Same house, same power, same dangerous stillness. But when he saw me, something softer surfaced. "You stayed away longer than I thought," he said. "I needed to make sure I wasn't staying for the wrong reasons." "And now?" I stepped into him, pressed my palm to his chest. "Now I'm staying because I want to." He didn't kneel, didn't beg, didn't surrender a single inch of his crown. Instead, he wrapped an arm around my waist and said, "Then stay." And I did. Not as his prisoner, not as his weakness, not as his redemption, as his equal in choice. At night, when the city slept, he told me things no one else knew. I didn't fix him. I didn't try. I just listened. And when he reached for me in the dark, it wasn't to own, it was to anchor. I used to think letting go of hate meant losing my brother. I was wrong. It meant carrying him without the weight of blood. It meant choosing love without surrendering myself. It meant standing beside a king without ever kneeling. Connor Kaveli never gave up his crown. He only made room beside it. And I never stopped running. I just learned where I belonged when I chose to come back. 3 years later, the first time I held my daughter, I was terrified. Not because of what she was, but because of what we were, what we'd come from, what we'd done, what we'd survived. She was so small, so quiet, so innocent, something neither of us had ever been allowed to be. And in that moment, holding her against my chest, Connor's hand cradling the back of her head like she was glass, I knew. This wasn't our ending. This was the first chapter we got to write in peace. We named her Elena. It means light. Connor picked it, didn't ask for permission, just said it one night while I lay half asleep on his chest, his hand resting on the curve of my stomach like he'd already met her. "Elena," he whispered, "because she'll never carry what we carried." And I knew then that even if the world turned red again, he would bleed to keep it white around her. The empire didn't fall. It shifted. He still ruled. Still made decisions in rooms with no windows and quiet threats. still kept power wrapped around him like smoke, but he changed the rules, and the ones who couldn't keep up disappeared. We live in a villa just outside the city now. He built it for me. No bars, no secrets, just olive trees, sun-warmed stone, and a chapel that only ever holds laughter. He never tried to recreate the old one, never asked forgiveness for what burned. He just said, let's build something that doesn't need to be redeemed. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night expecting blood on my hands, but he's always there. Breathing slow, arm heavy across my waist, one hand resting on the other side of the bed, like even in sleep, he's guarding something. And sometimes I wake up to her voice instead. Elena, barefoot and wild-haired, whispering stories to herself in the garden. She thinks I don't hear her. But I do. Every word. And sometimes I cry. Not because I'm sad, but because for the first time in my life, no one's coming to take anything from me. My daughter doesn't know about the knife, the blood, the fire, the girl I used to be. One day, maybe I'll tell her. But not now. Not yet. Right now, she thinks her father is a king and her mother is made of stars. And honestly, she's not wrong. Connor still calls me Bellissima. But now, he says it in front of our daughter. Says it like a truth he wants her to grow up believing. That softness is strength. That choosing love doesn't make you weak. That even the darkest bloodlines can bloom. Sometimes, people ask how we survived. How two enemies became something more than a war story. And I don't know how to answer without sounding insane. Because the truth is simple. He broke me open. I bled, and then he stayed. Not to stitch me back together, but to teach me how to live with the cracks. I used to think hate was the only thing strong enough to keep me going. But love? Real love? The kind built in fire and chosen after? It's stronger. It's quieter. It's everything. We bent the world for each other, and then we built a new one for her. You made it to the end. Through fire, blood, and heartbreak, and somehow love survived it all. If you love Julie and Connor's story, like, share, and subscribe. More enemies to lovers Mafia stories are waiting for you right here. And remember, the world doesn't break, it bends for the ones who choose each other. See you in the next one.